Hey everybody, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show. My name is Tom Marks, Associate Editor here at PC Gamer, and your host, as always. James teased me before the show with a high-pitched, nasally version of that, so I decided to go a little lower today.
Oh, okay, self-conscious.
A little bit.
I'm sorry.
You got me. I am joined by the very mean James Davenport.
Not mean!
How you doing, James?
Great.
A little
I
bit
was
mean.
good. I was pretty... What? Is it all coming out now?
Yes.
We're doing this now?
This is an intervention, actually. We're also joined by the just mean decider, Tyler Wilde, over on the internet. Tyler, you're joining us again. Thanks very much. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. I'm also mean, but I am excited that I have a new desk chair here that will hopefully
Ooh.
make my back feel better.
Make you better at gaming.
You know what kind of chair I have now?
Okay.
Amazon Basics.
Hey, me too. I have that. I snapped my my armrest in the first week. It's
Yeah,
awful.
both of my armrests are hanging off the side. Yeah, you can't
Basic
see,
for a
but
reason.
Doesn't
Yeah.
sound very restful for your arms at that
It's
point.
not. Now it like pinches my arm and I get cuts on it all the time.
Wow.
But I'm too
invest
cheap.
in a good chair or you'll have
Yeah,
back
invest in a
problems
good
like
chair,
me.
please.
Well, it's still in the box behind you, though.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to
Are you-
open it up,
You
put
could
it
just sit
together.
on the box.
You've
maybe
chaired the chair assembly?
Yes, I have until Mass Effect's done.
Okay.
Well, speaking of, first we have a couple subscribers. Nick Warrior 5
wow.
for 3 months, Gimbal Locked for 4. Thank you very much, guys, for your continued support. As Tyler mentioned, today is a bit of a Mass Effect day. We had Tyler on last week to talk briefly about Mass Effect, but we were still under embargo for the majority of the game at that point. So we're back today to talk in depth about the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly of Mass Effect Andromeda. Our review, if you guys did not see it, did go up. You can find that at pcgamer.com/mass-effect-andromeda-review. And you can see what Chris Thurston, our reviewer for that, thought there. But we're going to dive into it just in general here and kind of take as much depth as we want with it. The one thing I will say before anyone freaks out is we're going to try to avoid story spoilers as much as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be some things to that, but like we're not just going to like blow through it. We're going to be talking about more how the game plays, the systems, the likes and dislikes in that regard, the wonky eyeballs, everything like that.
My character's beautiful, Tom. She looks great.
I just turned on in the settings. I turned on keep helmet on at all times, and now my character's beautiful.
You know, Tyler, all I can say is everyone thinks that their child is the prettiest child in school. So, but we are going to get into that. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about what we've been playing recently, and of course, we're going to take your guys' questions from Twitch chat at the end.
Yeah.
I think we're actually going to try to make the Twitch chat at the end of today's episode a bit longer. I kept feeling bad about it being pushed to the end. So come up with questions and hit us up at the end because we're going to hopefully have a lot of time for that this week. So I want to hear from you guys, basically, is what I'm saying. But let's start with what we've been playing recently. I was going to do another kind of latest hottest news section, but there wasn't really a whole heck of a lot going on
It was
this
Mass
week.
Effect.
It's just Mass Effect consuming everything. So we're gonna skip that for now and go right into what we've been playing recently. And I want to start with James because James, you and Tyler have been playing a lot of Mass Effect. That's a given.
Yeah.
But you've been playing some other stuff too. You've been fitting it in there.
Yeah. First things first. During my lunch breaks, I've been playing Stories Untold, which is a kind of episodic sci-fi horror game that each episode is centered around a kind of piece of old technology. The first episode, and I won't spoil what exactly it gets into, but the first episode is called something about a haunted house, and you're sat in front of this old CRT monitor and this old keyboard. It's all rendered with loving detail. It's I think one of the lead designers on that stuff is who made the tech in Alien Isolation, like the old retro futuristic tech, and you play an adventure game on this computer, on your computer. So it's I don't want to say too much without spoiling the premise, but it kind of plays into the idea of playing a game within a game and does some really cool stuff. If you like fiddling around with old technology, the effects and all the buttons and switches you eventually get to use are really satisfying, especially if you have a lust for that kind of stuff. So you give that a look. It's like $10 and about 4 hours long. Pretty cool stuff. Otherwise, I've been playing, and I've had very little time to do this. Near Automata.
Automata. I'm really not sure anymore.
I don't know.
I think Automata is fine.
Automata. Let's just go with that.
Laundromeda.
There you go.
You wash clothes, and it's a cool RPG.
Yeah. It's got a great spin cycle.
To be fair, RPGs have been made about more mundane things than washing clothes.
Yeah.
So
this game is fucking bonkers, you guys. It's how do I start? It's a sequel sort of to Nier, which I don't know if it was ever on PC or not. I never played Nier. You don't have to know anything about Nier, but it's sort of like this cult classic RPG. Pretty flawed, apparently. This takes place many years later, I think centuries later, in a sort of post-apocalyptic scenario where robots have taken over the Earth. Humans are forced to the moon, and they build this android army to kind of reclaim the planet. And yeah, so it's an RPG in that sense. You're sent down as this android 2B, and you explore this kind of semi-open world and get quests and talk to NPCs, and there's side quests. There's some really interesting environments. The key thing to note here is that the combat systems were designed by Platinum, and if you know Platinum Games, that's kind of their MO is combat-centric games.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had a whole string of kind of smaller games like the recent Transformers one. I know they did an Avatar one, which was the combat was good, but everything else was bad from what I hear.
Pretty much. It was really repetitive.
Metal Gear Revengeance and so on. Bayonetta, I think, was their jam too.
Yep.
So they know how to do combat.
Vanquish, yeah.
Yeah, Vanquish. They know how to do like wild, over-the-top combat, and this game opens like with some of the most wild, over-the-top combat you'll get. It's really deep too. I've seen a GIF of like some advanced player juggling a robot for like, I don't know. It didn't touch the ground for like 30 seconds or something. I'm not that advanced yet, but it feels really good. There's a lot of variability, so you can equip a primary weapon and a heavy weapon, and those can be interchanged among those slots. So you can have your heavy weapon, and every weapon behaves differently in each slot. So there's like, they get different combos and chains, and it's wild and over the top and deep, and I'm barely scratching the surface of that. On top of that, it's also a bullet hell shooter.
What?
Yeah. So.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's an open world RPG with Platinum, like, deep.
It's like real-time action combat.
Real-time action combat with bullet hell elements, or it literally is like a bullet hell game. So,
okay.
The game opens like from the top down. You're in a ship and you're just playing a bullet hell shooter. Like there's ships coming at you. It's like an old arcade classic-looking thing, and then slowly, as the scene progresses, you move to like free stick and free aim movement. Okay, and you're like, all right, this is interesting. And then you get thrown down onto the planet, and you start doing some combat. And then later, you start some enemies start shooting at you, and you realize you get taught to how to shoot. You can shoot at any point and aim with the analog sticks or lock on to start shooting your bullet hell gun that just is a constant stream of fire. And you can also combo and do your action moves while you're shooting. So it throws a bunch at you at once. And then eventually you face enemies that spray like these erratic patterns of bullets. So you're weaving in and out of these bullets while doing these combos. And yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It feels really good though. You'd think it'd be like too much. And at first it is. But it doesn't feel quite like anything I've ever played before in that regard.
Well, Joe Donnelly over in the UK wrote a piece today called Why I Love Struggling to Define Nier Automata, which I didn't really understand that headline, and now that you explain it, this game sounds like it's just doing a lot of weird stuff.
And that's like just systemically, like the things you're doing like mechanically it's hard to define. But beyond that, the story it's trying to tell, I don't want to spoil it because I'm still like being surprised by it, and I'm only like 4 hours in. But I've heard comparisons to Undertale in the morality of what you're doing, and like the point, like it constantly makes you think about and why you're attacking these robots and so on.
I only
What's
I
that?
only played the beginning because I was testing
Yeah.
the port, which is sort of so-so. But I love that it starts with this quote about like God created us to be mortal. I can't wait to kill such a being or something like that. And I'm like,
it's definitely a very bleak. Like it's. I mean, I found this village of robots, and there was a robot named, and I don't know if I'm saying the last name right, Jean-Paul Sartre, who's like this old French philosopher who basically he was an existentialist, and every robot in that village is named after like an old French philosopher or something of like that, and or an existentialist, and it's constantly making you think about what the fuck the purpose of life is, not just like what the purpose of playing this game is. It's very bleak, and the creator, the director, I'm forgetting his name. He's always wearing like this spooky ass moon helmet or whatever. You can never see him. He is known as, being sort of a bleak existentialist himself. But yeah, so I mean, within the opening minutes, or excuse me, opening like couple hours, you're dumped into this world, and I was expecting it to be like all post-apocalyptic, but then like very early on, like you enter an amusement park, and the music is just is very playful and silly. And within the combat systems, I don't want to spoil it. God, I can't really talk about things I love yet, but Yoko Taro, yeah. There are things it does that are just outright hilarious. Like in the first boss battle, the first real boss battle I encountered, if you get hit by a certain thing in this battle, it throws you into this other scenario that just is totally out of left field and really funny in the context of what you're doing. So I think someone compared this. I saw a tweet. I forgot who wrote it. Oh, it was like one of the Steam reviews, one of the top-rated Steam reviews. It's like if Hideo Kojima got really high and made a game about like existence, then this would, it would be near. So it's really got my attention, and I'm curious to see where it goes. I did a side quest where I went and found a lost robot sister in the desert, and the whole way back the robot was asking me about like the purpose of life, and then in the end asked me how babies are made and wouldn't shut up about.
What?
Yeah, the robot kept asking me how babies are made. There's like a lot of really weird funny stuff. The localization's really good too. So
This game sounds great.
I wish the port was a little better because I had to use a community fix to get the resolution running correctly. I know some people have like better experience than others. Sounds like there needs to be a bit of work done with it. But
as far as the localization, I thought it was cool that you can switch to the original Japanese dialogue and use subtitles, which
I've been doing that.
Too few games have that option.
And the Japanese voice acting, like it feels really great, and it's the lips of the characters are synced to that more naturally, so it feels better in that way. It's been one of the most exciting things I've played this year in terms of and inventive things I've played this year.
Well, that's cool.
I hope more people give it a shot.
It feels like it might get lost in the
It's
Mass
been
Effect
a busy
shuffle
season
too.
So
Well, that's cool. It's one that I honestly before this conversation did not have much interest in, and now I am at least interested in trying it.
Yeah, I think everyone should.
Up.
If you like action-heavy games and you like weird Hideo Kojima-esque, just surprising meta commentary and bleak, just give it a shot. Give it a shot. It might surprise you. So
we should have our review up tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Likely, yeah.
Cool.
Andy Kelly is on that in the UK.
Right on. Looking forward to his thoughts.
Yeah,
he likes it.
Well, there you go. Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler for a review of the game.
Well, that's man, that like. I was not expecting you to say bullet hell. Like I was just kind of expecting standard platinum-y sort of stuff, but
it's bizarre.
All right.
Bizarre.
Well, we can. Damn. I'll find out the rest for myself, I suppose. But I want to go next. I've been playing 2 games.
Zelda.
I wasn't even going to say the word today. I was completely going to avoid it, and then you did it, James.
I did it.
We know the truth, Tom.
Yes, I've been playing that still, but it's because I can play it on the train, so shut up.
Okay.
The two games I've really been playing more lately are this one puzzle game that I've been really, really enjoying called Cosmic Express. I played a game, I think I might have mentioned this actually when, post GDC. There was a game that I really enjoyed, a puzzle game I really enjoyed called A Good Snowman is Hard to Build.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, I know that game.
Yeah,
it's a great
it's
game.
this really kind of underrated puzzle game, and the creator of it now made this game, which is called Cosmic Express.
Oh, I love the look.
It's a really kind of cute, very vibrant, bright look, and it's one of the most like deceptively difficult puzzle games I've played in a long time. Like Snakebird is the other thing that comes to mind in terms of like really cute, simple visuals, but damn, is the game hard.
Yeah, what's going on in there though? Like,
Yeah, so like it shows you like a track, right, or like a little like kind of space dome bubble thing. It's in like an isometric point of view, and there are little aliens along that path, and you have to you drive a train, and you have to draw a track for the train, and it can't overlap itself, and it can't go backwards, and you usually only have like 1 or 2 seats on the train. So you have to like pick up an alien, then deliver him to his matching colored home, and then pick up another alien and deliver him, and then get to a different exit. So the actual puzzle of the game is you're trying to draw a path that will pick up and drop off these aliens in the right sequence before you then leave.
Oh, okay.
And the reason it's so deceptively hard is because like you'll get just a pretty much blank, maybe 8x6 square grid to draw on, and there will be 2 aliens and 2 drop-off points in this big square grid, and so there's just like a lot of empty space, and you're like, okay, this is going to be simple. I just got to do 2 dudes and draw a line, and it's easy. But the actual work that goes into planning that route is surprisingly complex and surprisingly like limited in what you can do. So it's a really, really good game in just like making you be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fine, and then really kicking your ass instead. Like the guy I was playing, when I did play it at GDC, I'm playing at home now, but when I did play it at GDC, the guy who I was first watching, and then I ended up having to take over for him, because he was playing he played the first level, and he was like, oh, this is easy, and like looked over at the developer, and I was like, so does it get hard? Like, this is super simple. And she was like, yeah, well, just wait. And he did the second level, and he was like, this is so easy. And then he got to the next level, and he had to walk away. He couldn't do it. And it was like, I've never seen somebody get shut up so quickly when like dissing a developer's game in front of them. But yeah, he had to walk away, and it was like, yeah, it's just a very, very cool game. If you're a puzzle game fan, Cosmic Express is a good one.
It's out now, you say?
Yeah, it's already out.
Nice.
It's on Steam. It's very good. Oh, also, I totally forgot this. Crazy Canuck resubscribed for 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you
What's up,
very
Crazy?
much. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Cosmic Express. The other game that I've been playing, I'm a little mad at Wes for, and I'm a little upset at myself for playing.
What?
So we ran an article today about a new card game, called Feria or Feria. It's Faeria. It's a terrible name, but it's like a board-based, hex-based tactics card game, which, as people know, because I don't shut up about Duelist, I'm like a big fan of.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
And all Wes had to do yesterday, Jody wrote this great article just kind of
Yeah.
breaking down why it's a good game. And all Wes had to do yesterday was say to me, hey, does anybody want to edit an article about a new like board-based card game? It's pretty fun. And I read it and I was like, fuck, I'm downloading this game right now. Like I'm so predictable, but I was playing this yesterday and I played it a ton last night and some earlier, and yeah.
You could say you're an easy mark.
Oh God. I'll give you that one.
Thank you. I'll close Skype now.
But yeah, it's actually really, really fun. And I'm.
Is it?
Yes.
Or is it? No, no. Let's fucking talk about this, because
Okay.
how many times can you make a goddamn card game with the hearts and the shields and then also just like throw in hexes and say,
James
oh,
coming out
good
swinging.
strategy. Yep, you can make decisions that are strategic, and you have card. Like I don't understand. Like sell the shit because it looks generic. It looks bad. It looks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why should I care? Why should I care?
Okay, so without like
That was mean. I am mean.
swinging, no, because you're right. And the truth of the matter is, if I show you this screenshot here, I'm going to show you some screenshots from the Steam page real quick. If I show you this screenshot, you don't care, and you don't care about this either. And this looks gross, right? Like honestly, the game in screenshots looks incredibly generic. It looks really bad, and I don't think it pitches well. Is the funny thing, but in motion and when you're playing it, I think it actually is a pretty charming game.
Okay.
And this is why you should care. Yeah, nobody cares about the beta download Steam trailer. That part you don't care about. This is why you should care, though, or this is why I care, is I'm still a huge fan of Duelist. I've been playing the newest expansion, but something that's been happening with Duelist lately is that it's been focusing less and less. The new cards have been focusing less and less on the board. They've been focusing less and less on interacting with the actual tiles and more on, like, making cool cards and, like, weird cards. And this game scratches the board itch for me in a way that doesn't. And so the way it works is, for anyone familiar with Magic or Hearthstone or anything, when you play a mana, there's like colored mana basically, but the way it works is that the board starts completely blank and you can't step on any of it. Then you actually place the board down. So you place land tiles that you can then play your units on and move them on.
That's interesting, because I don't know, like if you just say a hex-based card or board game with card element,
it's way less interesting.
I kind of know what that looks like, or at least like know what to expect. But
the more interesting thing about this is, like, the board, since it starts blank, like it actually is formed every time, and like where you can move is different every time.
See, that's interesting to me.
And it affects tactics that way. And I still love Duelist, and I still think Duelist like has better like pixel art than this, because this doesn't have pixel art. It's just kind of more traditional, and honestly, it just looks like they stole League of Legends color palette and were like, we'll just make a game that looks like that, which is like fine, but also makes it look very generic. It's a really surprisingly good game, though. It's very. It doesn't feel like Hearthstone in the way that Duelist and Elder Scrolls Legends and Eternal all feel like some variant of Hearthstone or Magic.
Okay.
Which is important, I think.
I apologize for
No. We know.
For yelling at the video game.
I yelled at the video game again. I'm going to yell at another one here in a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Again and again.
We're ramping up for that. I'm excited for that. That's mainly what I've been playing.
Cool.
JBJ Blaze says, does 15 months subscribed hit the mark, or James did it again? And you said Furia is better than Duelist, Tom? No, I would not say. I don't know if Furia is better than Duelist yet. I legitimately can't tell. I'm enjoying it a lot right now. But that was because JBJ Blaze subscribed for 15 months, so thank you very much. But
it's a lot of months, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been playing Furia for like a day, so
all right.
It's hard to tell, but it's a game I'm excited to play lots more of.
Okay.
Yeah. Tyler, have you been playing anything that's not Mass Effect?
Let's see. No, I see about 60 hours in Mass Effect. No, I did actually stop to play Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, which is in closed beta right now. We gave out some keys last week. There will be another beta period coming up where we might have some more. It's fun, but I didn't have time to not suck at it. Like the Red Orchestra and the Rising Storm games, you have to familiarize yourself with the maps and the character models, especially because friendly fire is on, and I'm always afraid to be that guy who's like constantly killing teammates. So I'll just see like a squad coming at me and be like, is that the Americans or they killed me. They were bad guys. So yeah, that seems like it'll be something I play a lot when it comes out, because I enjoy that series. But you can't really judge it on playing like 2 rounds, which is the same for
Yeah.
all the other games.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely a hardcore. Like I remember, I didn't play the first Rising Storm, and when I played Rising Storm 2 at like a PAX a while back for the first time, I was like, oh my god, this game it kicks your ass if you're not ready for it.
yeah, it's hard. I also like to what is that game with the triangles, James? I don't,
Yenkai's Triangle.
yeah, I think I uninstalled it. Yeah, man, I like to play that after like 10 hours of Mass Effect
Yeah.
to I don't know, defragment my brain. It's like a puzzle game that's
yeah.
not hard, and it doesn't really ramp up in difficulty in any. Well, I guess it does a little bit, but not much. You're just kind of
Yeah.
spinning triangles around, but it just has like a weird visual style and audio that's kind of like trance-like.
It is.
So that game has the best triangles of 2016 for sure.
Officially.
Yeah, we awarded it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't we?
We did. It's a great game.
So that's like my that's like my post workout game, and by workout I don't mean physical exercise. I mean playing a lot of Mass Effect and getting tired of it.
Oh man, the life of an executive editor at PC Gamer.
Well, obviously we've been doing like a ton of coverage of Mass Effect because new people would be interested. So that means a lot of like marathoning it to get lots of saves because it is a friggin' huge game. So
yeah. Well, let's, without further ado, dig into that because there's a lot to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda. For those of you living under a rock, it did come out yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Tuesday? Yes.
21st.
So it came out yesterday. It's been available. The first 10 hours were available to like EA Origin Access people for a few days before that. And then you guys have been playing the game for a week, a little over?
I don't even remember at this point.
I think I started it. I started it last Saturday.
Yeah.
No, the Saturday before the previous one.
Yeah.
James has lost just all perception.
It's been a long time.
How's space, James?
I don't know where to start with this game.
Okay, well, let's start with the fact that there is a lot to dig into. Let's start with which is that the game so far has been divisive in reviews and opinions. So, for example, the oh my god, I just totally lost my train of thought. Excuse me.
It's been divisive on our staff. Is that's for sure.
Yes.
Like
Chris,
Tim,
that's what I was going to say. Chris, our reviewer, I believe he gave it an 80. He was a fan of the game. He recognized its problems, but he had quite a good time playing it. By contrast, Tim Clark, our editor-in-chief, who I wanted to get in on this but was too busy today, came into our Monday morning meeting and was basically like, this is a pile of hot garbage. It's one of the worst games I've played in years. I don't understand why everyone likes it. So it's like, and neither of those people are wrong, right? It's just, it's a divisive game opinion-wise.
I'm somewhere in the middle there where it's like, I was talking to James before we started.
Yeah.
I can't really talk about the game without criticizing it because there's so damn much to criticize about it, but I can just shut off and play it. And just like watching an episode of Star Trek Voyager, like I can still enjoy it as long as I'm not thinking about, what I would say about it. But when it comes time to talk, I can talk shit about that game for ages.
So where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start at like, I mean, you talked a bit about, or Tyler talked a bit about some stuff last week, but like, is there anything, I guess, to start that you would want to talk about past those 10 hours we could talk about last week?
I think for me at least, like the first 10 hours didn't really show me the shape of the game. Like, okay, am I going to be hitting up each 6 planets and just like how are the quests and like companion quests going to be structured around that, and story quests going to be structured? Am I going to be like doing busy work on each of these worlds to get them to a certain percent? Like, I didn't really know, and now I do know, and I know it's all fluffy bullshit. Like, it's
James is in the Tim camp.
I think I lean towards Tim slightly, and you seem to lean towards Chris. But this game, okay, the stuff you do in the open worlds is almost all filler. There's collections. You go collect dad fragments, dad memory fragments. You go scan minerals. You go scan plants. There's some side quests that you get. Most of them are just like go here and kill these people, or go here and look at this terminal. And those things will like ping you back and forth between a planet, your ship, the Nexus, and so on, which all have these like 10 to 15 second ship flying transitions and loading screens, and only to get, you go back to the Nexus only to get sent back down to the planet to talk to some guy to close out the quest. I think almost all that extraneous stuff is garbage. The planets themselves are populated with like 4 or 5 different creatures. All of the planets in the entire galaxy cluster are. So you get the same big brawler dude. You get the same raptor looking thing. You get the acidic beetle looking thing. You get there's nothing surprising in terms of the zoology of these planets, and even in the topography, like in the geology of these planets, they're all kind of just barren and rocky and hilly. And anytime you see a point of interest, at least in my experience, going there was usually pretty fruitless. I'd be like, oh, I find this down ship. What's going on here? There's some Ket. Damn it. Thanks for telling me again. And Sam, your AI, will tell you anytime you drive by Ket, he'll be like, oh, Ket. And you'll be like, okay.
Or it's like you got 50 research points.
Yeah.
You found 10 aluminum.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, like anytime you like find a cave or something in any other like semi-open world game or purely open world game, you'd be like rewarded for exploring that, or get a tidbit about the world, or find some kind of secret. And no, I mean, most of the time it's like that's a place reserved for a quest you haven't found yet, and you'll be back there, so don't go there yet. There's no incentive to explore in that regard. Almost none. I mean, maybe there's some cool thing someone found somewhere, but in my experience, nothing. Tyler, have you found anything like cool just from exploring those places?
Not really. It's like you'll run into someone who's there and they need help, which usually means go scan something or go find something.
Yeah.
You start to have to kind of like work with like a day planner where you're like, because it does take those 15-second transitions to go between system to system to a planet and then onto the planet's surface. So you have to kind of be like, okay, well, if I make the trek back to Eos, which is like the first planet you land on, I want to make sure I'm like primed to complete as many quests as I can on there, so that I don't have to come back later if I don't need to. Because there's just so much. Everyone you talk to has something, which is why like you could probably play 200 hours and not get very far in the story, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that 200 hours would necessarily be very fun, but I don't know. I'm okay with doing some of the dumb side quests. Like, can you put this on Eos because of my brother? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And I'll get a really brief, like, introspective bit of dialogue where I'm like, huh, wow, okay, I guess it's the little things that count, and then go on with my day. And I'm kind of okay with that, maybe more so than you and Tim. Well, definitely more than you and Tim.
Yeah.
But as far as like, oh, I explored into the depths of this planet and found a really cool little side quest, and I got a special piece of armor. I don't know. Maybe it should have like rewarded you with actual items and stuff. It doesn't really. It's just like at the end of a quest, you did the quest.
Yeah.
That's it.
You get a little notification in the bottom left corner. It's like plus 30 experience, and then
like the idea is that each side quest should get by on the power of its story and its writing, and that's the reward for completing it. But that isn't the case for most of them, because the writing is like, I have a problem. Can you go scan something? And I'm like, okay, you fixed it. Thanks, writer.
It seems like they could just make more of these scanners. And like other people could scan their
own
everyone
things. Could just be
You're
scanning.
the only one who has a scanner, and they're just like, oh, writer's scanner can detect that. Why don't everyone have one?
Is it a Pathfinder thing?
I guess.
Tyler, the mildly motivated writer, Chris says.
Yeah, I'm basically like, I have a lot of problems with the game, but I'm gonna make sure we're all good in Andromeda and solve the problems of my people.
Yeah, and I think even if that extra, like the open world stuff was like intrinsically rewarding, and if you find it intrinsically rewarding, that's cool. But even then, if you don't, and you're doing it to like make a meter go up or looking for some reward at the end of the tunnel, the reward is I think it's called AVP, and I forget what that means. Viability points, Andromeda viability points, and
Yep.
those feed back into another system. Which
Andromeda versus Predator.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Into a system where you're basically waking people from cryogenic sleep. So every time you level up your AVP, you get 1 extra point to spend on something to wake up people from cryogenic sleep. But that's never really reflected in your journeys. So it's reflected in a menu. So if you wake somebody up or wake up a chunk of people, you click on a menu to get a certain buff or a certain perk that will be there for the rest of the game. So you can choose to get resources at a 30-minute interval or something randomly, and or you'll start to you'll get more experience from every encounter or whatever. There's these random little perks, and that's like the extent of the reward of making every planet viable is perks. And
Well, there's a little. I mean,
what else is there?
The idea is that you make the planets more viable. You wake people up, and then and then the settlements will grow, and then you'll have more side quests to do when you visit them.
Fuck
James,
that.
This is the idea.
I mean, I would be totally down. I just like, and maybe we can just like move into into the writing in this game. Because
well, real quick before we get onto writing, I do want to ask. Somebody mentioned in the chat, do the planets visually start looking different as you like? Do they get prettier and like habitized or like terraformed in any way? Or are they still like Arizona desert just with some more things?
I haven't gone nuts with like the viability stuff, to be honest, because I'm trying to like look into other parts of the game. I don't know, James. Have you established like more outposts?
I've 100%ed 3 planets. And,
oh, damn.
I think I noticed a change, like a visual. Well, first of all, you establish outposts where previously there was a field or an open plain. You now have some buildings, right, and some people to talk to, and like you can do research and development there. It's like a little hub for activities and some side quests and so on. Beyond that, I haven't noticed. Well, I think the sky changes on like the snow planet if you reach a certain viability. On Eos, like it unlocks more of the planet because the atmosphere acclimatizes and radiation goes away in like a week or some shit. That's crazy. But
you deradiate the planet in a week.
But overall, there's it'd be hard to tell like one planet from the other based on like 0% or 100% viability score. And I was hoping there was more of that because I think if it felt like I was, making these places habitable and there were more of my colonists making a home there, and there was like maybe if you came back and there was someone like with a field and they're farming something, and or you have like a residential district over here now, or something, or a market, or I don't know. But really, you just get the same kind of block of like tractor trailer, basically space tractor trailer, boxcar settlements full of people, who you can't interact with very much. It's I don't know. In that way, it's very disappointing to me because the whole theme of moving into this space frontier and making a new home on like these planets that are pretty desolate and not totally habitable seems cool to me, right? Mm-hmm. Like leaving a mark and starting anew, and there's really no indication or sense that you're making them home.
And forcefully colonizing another territory like humans do. Evan is in the chat, and he brought up, I think he put it well this morning when we were talking, that he just didn't feel surprised or curious or any suspense. And I agree with him about feeling slightly pleasant. Like the interface kind of sucks, but I just enjoy the sound effects and walking around my spaceship and like, I don't know, interacting with people, and the idea that I can interact with so many people. I mean, one of the defenses for the game that I've made, along with Chris, is that no one else but BioWare makes RPGs like this. Like, The Witcher is a great series, but they're not the same kind of game. So, and like Torment, Tides of Numenera, which I've been playing, is a great game, but it's not the same kind of game. It's they aren't trying to do like fully animated, voice acted characters, and you can talk to a million of them, and your relationships evolve throughout the game. So I give it some credit for being the only RPGs of their kind.
Yeah.
BioWare RPGs.
I agree, and I agree. Like, there's no other RPG like it. But I think from the get go, a few of the like its foundational.
I mean, it's no
ideas-
near.
It's no near. It's no.
Bullet hell segments.
Shit,
That's what Mass
I'd
Effect
play a
Andromeda
combo, an
needs.
action combo based Mass Effect game. But I think just like right off the bat, it flubs a few things that make it hard to like, despite the fact that it and a couple of those things are, and you can expand on this, Tyler, is just the writing overall. I think is, I think before the game came out, I said this in our Slack chat, is that every subsequent BioWare game starts feeling more like fan fiction for BioWare games, and this sort of feels especially
It's
like that.
100%. It 100% feels like people who were big fans of the Mass Effect trilogy, but didn't really have a new kind of sci-fi vision. I don't know. I don't want to speculate about like the qualifications or the motivations of the writers, but you get in there and it feels like something a fan of the games wrote, and definitely wrote to appeal to a younger audience, which I have to remember. I was like 21 when I played the first Mass Effect, and now I'm 31. So maybe the game hasn't changed that much, but I have.
Makes you think.
But Ryder kind of says stuff like, my motto is I get shit done, or whatever it was. But like, really, just like, she's supposed to be like, where Shepard is experienced, an experienced soldier who, kicks ass and gets things done. Ryder, actually gets things done and doesn't just say that she does. Ryder is this inexperienced, doesn't really know what she's doing, can't really hold a meeting correctly, and then just kind of speaks like people speak casually now on Twitter. And I guess that's supposed to appeal to them millennials, right? Which I guess I technically am. I hate the term millennials, but this feels the most like someone said in a meeting, millennials. You need to appeal to millennials. Like, I don't know. Someone in our own Slack chat put it well, saying that you can kind of sometimes hear the writers talking in Slack and going, "Oh, this is a good joke. This is a good joke. This will work. This will be cute." Like, you can just feel when it's trying to be cute, trying to be funny, and the jokes don't land for me a lot of the time. I like some of the banter though. Like your pilot and your science officer, they kind of have cute little exchanges while you.
Yeah, I like them well enough.
Well, you go meet up with them,
So there's been kind of two camps I've seen across the different reviews that I've read and across different people. Well,
making war.
Yeah, basically. And this goes back to what I was saying about the game having kind of divisive opinions. Is like I have heard both.
Yeah.
The writing and the story is terrible, but the updated combat is great. And I have also heard the combat totally gets in the way of the great story. Like
fuck that. The combat redeems like that game for me almost.
Okay.
It was the hook that kept me chugging along.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Maybe not like the best mix of like shooting and powers and stuff ever made. I don't know what I'd compare it to, but I had a lot of fun killing Cat.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, I think people say maybe it gets in the way of the story because there's I mean, that's a lot of the filler stuff you find in the open worlds are just like random combat encounters you can do or just drive by. It's kind of funny. You can,
Well, I guess in a way it affects the story because the story had to accommodate for it. It had to
sure. Okay.
invent
Sure.
had to invent, hordes of kind of faceless bad guy aliens to shoot at. Whereas if that hadn't been a priority, maybe they could have gone in a more interesting direction than you show up in a new galaxy and there's a great evil force being amassed.
Yeah.
And now we have to take care of it because, of course, we do. And, of course, there is.
Yeah. Just briefly to touch on that, like I don't want to sit on the story all day, and we'll get to the combat, but
You're welcome to sit on the story all day.
how awful and bland and shitty and just lifeless are the Ket as an antagonizing force.
So without spoiling much, is that ever redeemed? Because we talked about it last week.
Are there more dimensions to the Ket?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not ones that are like. Yeah,
Not
there's more
satisfying.
dimensions.
There's nothing
Okay.
in there. It's not like there's a little boy's soul trapped in the Archon's head who's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's these guys are just straight up jerks. That's kind of their backstory. Is they're like, we are jerks.
We were talking before about how like there's not a lot of variety to like the alien sort of animals and creatures you meet.
Yeah.
And in general, I thought the point of setting it in Andromeda. This is what I thought from the pitch, from the first trailer. I thought, okay, so they're setting it in Andromeda so that me and my Solarian, Asarian, Krogan friends and others, Quarian friends, can go to this new galaxy and discover this like, interstellar society of new aliens. And just like in Mass Effect 1, where you're kind of the newcomer human and everyone's getting used to you and you're trying to understand different aliens, that me and my crew would be making first contact all the time and would actually sort of be the invading force. Like you could talk about, it could investigate colonialism, and it could investigate, what morally and ethically humans can and should do in the situation of basically being intruders. Like there's so much to investigate, but then in the first 20 minutes of Andromeda, you get, and it's like, they shot at us. Oh no, they got a big ship and that guy looks mean, and there's ancient alien technology, which is the same shit Shepard was doing. Like, it's like you didn't have to do ancient alien technology again. That didn't have.
There's no mystique to it at all. Like, no.
Yeah,
and then when it comes,
it's interesting that it seems like you've traveled 600 years into this completely new galaxy where there isn't any of the, what was the stuff called in Mass Effect, the original Mass Effect series, the like.
The I forget what are you talking about, the crazy species? There's like
no, the technology you get is it had like an alien name that it's all from this
one.
the
Jesus, I forgot already. I blocked it from my memory.
Anyway, there isn't that stuff.
Prothean.
Right? The Prothean stuff isn't there, right? The Mass Effect relays aren't there. All that jazz.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you conveniently flew into a galaxy that seems to be at the exact same like time period or like era in technology and like culture and all that sort of stuff. Like they could have flown you into a galaxy that was like these people were just forming their first technology and their first space travel, or alternatively.
Would that have been fascinating to do like first contact with a more primitive species?
Would have been way more compelling, yeah.
And then you could do some Captain Picard shit and be like, I don't know, we can't interfere with them, or you wouldn't even have rules for that. Like, that's just one of the many ideas you could apply to setting it in a new galaxy that was not applied.
Instead, you encounter bipedal creatures with two eyes, a mouth, wearing armor, and holding assault rifles, picking over a ship. Like,
it didn't even occur to me when we played on the stream before. It didn't even occur to me that this was like supposed to be some amazing new moment where they were encountering a new alien species, because it is so understated, it is so normalized.
Well, even when you encounter the other new species, there's like one other new species, the Angaran. It is, I mean, they've already chatted with people, and they are also bipedal, and they are also have a mouth and two eyes. And they, I think their defining characteristic is like, and their culture and backstory is like, they hit you over the head with it because every NPC you talk to is like family, 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 family.
Yeah.
We have big families.
Yeah, they're
Did
the
you know?
aliens who like family.
We like family. Cool. Okay, God, I can see what you're going for here.
Yeah,
But
and you talked about making things normal, Tom, which is like that's part of the problem too. It's supposed to be a game about exploration where everything is fascinating and new to you. But for space travel is basically no problem for you. You can cross between stars in apparently minutes.
Yeah.
You traveled for 600 years through dark space. So when you discover ancient alien technology that seems to have like terraforming properties to it, it's like, why is that? Why is everyone acting shocked by this shit? Like, don't you remember all the ancient alien technology in the Milky Way?
Yeah.
The space station you lived on called the Citadel that had like robots that no one understood how they worked. Why is this surprising in the least? Like, I don't know. It just didn't go far enough.
There was like a whole mission in Mass Effect, was it 1 or 2, where you were like researching those little fixer dudes, the little green guys.
And I know it's
You had
hard
no idea
to
what they
like
were.
collectors.
to say you need to outdo yourself. You need to like make the ancient alien technology even more incredible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying maybe just don't retread that. You did that.
Yeah.
And
well, it's interesting how
hitting the Elcor was so great in the original.
Yeah, the Elcor.
The other thing is,
so where are the weird species? I want to meet.
You don't even get like Elcor cameos or jellyfish dude cameos. I forget what they're called, but or at least as far as I've explored. So maybe they're in there somewhere. But
there's a lot that you can miss even as long as we've played. So to be fair,
yeah, it's interesting. Silent Marine says keepers. That's what they were called, those little green guys. But it's interesting to me, not to get into film too much, but how this first game, which they assumedly want to make the start of a series, I guess they haven't publicly said that.
I don't think they've said that, but...
But, you assume as much.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting to see how this first game mirrors the first game of the Mass Effect trilogy, the original Mass Effect trilogy, in a similar way that Star Wars 7 kind of got panned for mirroring Star Wars 4 as the start of another trilogy, right? Like, people were like, you're just trying to do, like, you just did what the original Star Wars did. And, like, this game, I feel like, is falling into similar pitfalls where it's like, they were, it feels like maybe they were so worried about not being Mass Effect that they made it too Mass Effect. If that makes sense.
It's hard to speculate like why it is the way it is. I suspect it's a matter of, I don't know, just timing. Like there wasn't enough time to do something grander or I don't know. It feels that, I mean, there's so many weird small buggy issues and like kind of half-formed systems and the UI is awful that it feels rushed to me personally.
I mean, it feels to me like we can build a good combat system and we have the Frostbite engine so we can do battlefield-sized and bigger maps that look really good and that you can drive around. So what do we do with those two things? And it feels like the plot goes from there. Like, well, we need an enemy you can shoot a lot of, and then we need big open areas. So, sort of colonizing planets works with that. And that's cool if you're starting there. But it's just that the story beats have not surprised me yet.
Evan says, I don't even need Elcor. I would settle for rotund, conniving Volus. Yeah, the Volus were cool. I liked them.
Yeah, I still like the aliens that are there. It's just, I feel like I got to know them. Like, we're still talking about the genophage and stuff, and I'm like, come on. I did that, man. I did that. There was sacrifice, and, we did that in Mass Effect 3, and I don't need to revisit that particular moral quandary, but it is revisited fairly often in your conversations.
So this isn't strictly PC related, and I apologize about that, but it is an interesting thing to bring up, and a couple people have brought it up already in the chat, which is March was a busy month for games, and especially open world games. And this game came out right after Horizon Zero Dawn, which was PS4 exclusive, but also very critically praised as an open world game, and Zelda, which was very critically praised as an open world game.
What's Zelda?
All right, calm down now. But the question is, do you think that
No.
Do you think that had any factor on people's opinions of this
No.
game?
If this wasn't a
No.
Mass Effect game, no one would fucking want to play it. I think it's like the only thing keeping me interested in it is the combat is like entertaining and it shows promise, and it can be like it's a fun toy to me. And that the enemy AI is just dull and useless and doesn't do anything. But the powers and combining them is really cool. And B, the fact that it's Mass Effect and might have something spacey and fun written in there. Like otherwise, if this was just like Welcome to Space 2 or whatever, it would be, I don't know. I speculate people wouldn't have expectations or attachments that like keep them invested. I would have quit playing 10 hours in.
But
I think people would still play.
No.
No. I think you underestimate how much people just enjoy this style of RPG. Like, I'm not that into fantasy, and I played some Inquisition. I played maybe like 10 hours and kind of just went, I don't know. This isn't for me, but I could see myself going back to that and finishing it, even though I wasn't that interested in it, just because it's a big world. I can ride around, talk to people.
I liked Inquisition though. Like I think it's collecting.
It was better for sure.
It was better written. Like that's the thing is like
I just want to be in space.
do people look back on Inquisition poorly? I feel like
I think
people liked that game.
People
at the
look back
time.
and say I don't think the characters I don't know. There's small things, but overall, just the open world stuff was shallow, and that's it. Like if you mainline it and stuff, it's fairly entertaining. Combat's a little dumbed down, but here in mass the thing is. If you took away the Dragon Age license from Dragon Age Inquisition, people would be like, it's still fairly well written. There's some good companions. There's some like interesting stuff. It's pretty good. If you took away the Mass Effect license here, the writing would not stand on its own for me. Like, period. Having finished the game and having seen the larger structure and the larger plot, it's awful. Like, what happens, where you go, what you do, it's awful. It's awful. It's like, it's awful.
You are flabbergasted right now.
I think, and I've yet to play all the companion quests, but those are definitely the best part of the game for me. And the mainline quests are still the best part because they contain combat, like focused linear combat, and some hard decisions that I don't know. But what happens in the most dramatic scenarios isn't resolved in a satisfying way ever, and writers always, writers' dialogue wheel, which is maybe something we can talk about, it ditches the Paragon Renegade format, sure. So you can't be super good or super jerk at all times. Instead, you're shades of the same person, which basically means you can answer with a joke or not. And when you answer with a joke on a super dramatic beat when someone dies or you have to do something serious, it just comes off as, I don't know, that's when it really starts to feel like the fan fiction for me. And it's hard to become invested when everything's a joke to your writer, or when everything is surrounded by so much, just useless, mindless padding and this open world. I don't know.
Would you say that the writers were so self-aware that they named the character after themselves? Now James is even madder at me.
I gotta calm down. I need Tyler talk about the things you like.
That's like I said, that's hard to do. I enjoy playing it for that, like, just pleasant, like, getting little side quests done, and I'm unlocking new dialogue, and there's a character I haven't met before, but the dialogue is often pretty bad. And as much as I thought it was a good move to get rid of Paragon Renegade, binary jerk or nice, like, I would have liked it to feel more like I was, being a slightly different person and not just, again, shades of the exact same writer who's just like kind of professional, kind of, when you don't have a choice of dialogue, when it's in a cutscene and writer is just talking, you can tell the kind of character they want her to be, which is this kind of smarmy and dismissive, sort of jokey person who's a little bit full of herself. And I do enjoy some of those dialogue options. Like, I'll always choose, like, a lot of the times you get to take all the credit for everything, and I always choose that because that's as close to being a jerk as you can be. Is basically when they're like, "Oh, you've made EOS more viable," and then you can be like, "Yep, I did it. I'm I'm good. But there are lines in it that just really kind of suck and aren't good. And I can't like quote off the top of my head because there's nothing really quotable. It's just sort of banter.
You put together a compilation of like 4 times in the first 10 minutes of the game where they said like commented on flying rocks or whatever, right?
Yeah, like in the very introductory mission, you land on this planet that was supposed to be a golden world. It was supposed to be habitable for humanity. But you get there and it's all torn apart by dark energy and there's lightning striking everywhere and like the rocks are floating. And it just struck me as kind of ridiculous that they see all this and go, well, we'll see what it's like when we get to the surface. And it's like, dude, like clearly something's wrong here. And then they keep going, these mountains are floating. Like, that's so weird. Like, yeah, there's like dark energy clouds shooting lightning everywhere. And now you're finding like ancient looking alien buildings. Like, do you think those are connected or in any way, maybe? And they just act so clueless and so shocked by this stuff. And it's like, again, you traveled between galaxies. This should probably not be that shocking. Like, I guess they just thought they were going to get there and like go live on the planet and everything would be fine. So I can see how they would be upset by this new development. But it just, yeah, it's just like, it just feels in that first mission like they didn't know what to have the characters say. So they just have them talk about what they're seeing. You know, it'd be like, yeah, if you're just going, and this is throughout the whole game, everyone just explains what they're feeling, what their backstory is, and what they're currently looking at right now. To try to give you hints as to like, just to make sure you're getting the story. Like, look, the rocks aren't supposed to be floating. Okay, we want to establish this so that later, when you figure out the ancient alien technology stuff, you get why now the rocks aren't floating anymore because this is what was causing it. So, and it's just, yeah, throughout the game, it's just people observing things and commenting directly on what they're seeing, which gets kind of old. And when you talk to your, people you meet, I think that it's easy to criticize this game for this, but all of the Mass Effects did it and all BioWares do it, where you ask them general questions about their life and then they say, well, I'm really kind of a loner. Don't make close connections or settle down really. So I decided I could come out to Andromeda for a new start. And it's like, thanks for your backstory and your personality. Now I know who you are. But they do that in all the BioWare games. Yeah. So I'm not gonna put that on Andromeda.
We should just start calling it that. Who might make me what if they just rebranded the entire game as like a parody game? And then suddenly all of the facial animations like make sense, and you just call it Andromeda, and like.
No, what's going to happen is so Chris Thurston, who couldn't be here to talk about it, who I do side with on several things. Like just generally, I'm enjoying it, even though all I can do is talk shit when I talk about it. But if I turn off and just play it, like I get into a zone, so I can definitely see where he's coming from. But I think what's going to happen is, how like. Every time a game gets like universal praise from like critics and everyone's like, this is awesome. BioShock Infinite is fucking fantastic. Like a few weeks later, someone publishes a critical thing that takes a new angle and goes, actually, it's not very good. And then everyone who was saying it was great goes, yeah, actually, I'm kind of over BioShock Infinite. And like, I am 100% this person. I was like, this is a great game. Oh, wait, someone did some good critical writing about it. I think it sucks now. I think Andromeda's the opposite, because we've been like dunking on it all for like a week and a half now and talking about all this shit, and then everyone's gonna play it and be like, what's wrong with you guys? Just have fun. Like, okay, the dialogue's kind of bad, but whatever. I think it's good.
Well, and to be fair, at the end of the day, like,
and I'm gonna be that person too. In a week, I'm gonna say, fuck you, James. Andromeda's a masterpiece. What?
Well.
If that happens, we're bringing you both back on the show.
I think like I try to temper like how much I hate this game with the fact that I still played I did it for work, but I also like was curious and still played like whatever 40 plus hours of it that I'm at right now. And that a lot of people aren't looking for, will enjoy it for what it is. Hell, my dad like watched all of Stargate like 70 times. I don't know. He's okay with that. And it's like not the most compelling, realistic like it's not sci-fi that's always building on itself and pushing the medium forward and yada yada. And
I dig Stargate, whatever.
but I've seen glimpses of it, and it looks dumb as hell. So maybe it's the wrong
It
example.
is.
But I mean, like, and that's okay. And I think the comparisons. I think I've never seen Star Trek, so forgive me. But
What?
yeah, sorry. This comes out every couple months in the office, and it's always awkward. But the Voyager comparison, like, I hear Voyager's not a great season, is probably apt because there's thematically some stuff you can enjoy, and just like as far as like the atmosphere and mood go, yeah, you're in space with some space friends, and you're doing stuff, and you're shooting bad guys, and you're getting some story, even if it's not, if it's not like mind-bending sci-fi genius, it's at least drama on some level, and that might be enough, I guess.
Yeah,
What else can you ask for?
I think Voyager is a good comparison for sure.
And Panzer 2 in the chat just pointed out, he said, I'm 15 hours into it, I'm still enjoying it, but everything they're saying is valid. There's a lot wrong with the game. And that's a perspective of it, too, is like people, like, you could just not be as bothered by these things as some other people and still be enjoying it, right?
I'm pretty much willing to let stuff go because I'm a BioWare apologist, and I will apologize for everything that's obviously bad. Like, we haven't even talked about the bugs and the scripting errors and shit. It's probably the worst BioWare game I've played as far as that goes. Be like, dialogue will queue, but you'll walk too fast, so it'll cut short because maybe there's some other dialogue that has to queue, or you'll walk in and go to your like the star map, and the two characters at the front in the bridge will start talking to each other, and then Sam will start talking. Sam's like the AI, will start talking in your head, and then another character will start fucking talking to you over the radio, and you'll have like fucking 5 dialogue tracks going. Or I've talked to people and their character model disappeared when I started the conversation. So writers just talking to a tree behind where they were. I've had, God, what else, like bug-wise? I've had saves corrupt. If I save in the Nomad, I can't load that save most of the time. Don't necessarily quote me on that. That seems to be the problem, saving in the Nomad. But I can't tell exactly what's going on in the game. There's stuff that's not explained. I didn't know how to get back in my ship on one planet for a while until James told me. Because there was like, unless you see that tooltip, or even, I don't even know if there was one. You're just screwed. Nowhere did I see it tell me I could respec my character in the med bay at a terminal in the back that you have to walk up to notice it does anything. It's like, unless you see the loading hints for some of the stuff, you might never see it. Characters have bugged out as far as movement. They like to like scatter and run around all crazy. Quests don't update always after I finish them. Sometimes I'll land on the Nexus, the space station, then get back on my ship, and then when I get back on my ship, have an email from someone on the Nexus saying, hey, come meet me, like to continue a quest.
Yep.
So I have to go to the Nexus, go back to my ship, check my email, go back to the Nexus, and do the quest. It's just like scripting errors and stuff. There's one quest at the end of Vetras where the same exact 2 lines of dialogue happen twice. Like, this is just a mistake in the scripting, and it feels like it could have used 6 months of hardcore QA.
Definitely.
Because it's buggier than. Yeah, I know BioWare games, and again, I'm an apologist, can get away with it because they're making something so big and complex, and like, okay, there's going to be a bug here and there, but it was just constant.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that side of it, so that's interesting, like an interesting perspective to get, because we haven't touched on performance much, and I do want to get to the Q&A very soon, but performance-wise, it seems like the game is running fine. Like it's a demanding game, but it's not necessarily like getting frame hitching, or it wasn't as bad as like Dishonored 2 on launch or anything like that. But I hadn't heard about this sort of buggy side of things rather than performance side of things.
Very buggy.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely there. Performance-wise, I'm having some trouble, but that says a little more about my PC than the game. My PC needs a little bit of work. But yeah, it doesn't run great for me, and I do have crashes. Granted, I have crashes when I'm doing like stuff a normal user wouldn't do, like force quitting and reloading it 18 times in a row to work on a guide or something. So I can't really speak to like performance or crashing because I'm putting it through its paces. But we did a huge performance test. Jared wrote that for us, so here I can link that in the chat. But
and you can find all of our Mass Effect Andromeda coverage if you, as Wes said last week, go to pcgamer.com/mass/effect-4, because that's how our website works. But yeah, if you go to that site, we have lots of coverage, character guides, multiplayer build guides, scathing coverage about the planet scanning system that I imagine if I get James talking about, we will be here all day.
Me. Just go play Torment.
And people are talking about like, hey, look, I've in the chat, I enjoyed the game, or someone enjoyed the game, and kind of getting accused of being a shill. I jokingly call myself a BioWare apologist whenever I say I'm enjoying it, because I do overlook a lot of the issues it has, even though I agree that like it's too buggy and the dialogue is not great. But as Evan points out in the chat, like we're going to be really critical of stuff, but that doesn't mean anyone wants you to stop enjoying what you enjoy. I'm trying not to ruin it for people. I kind of feel bad backing it so much because I know there are so many people who were so excited about this game and they're going to play it. So don't.
And the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, a lot of those people that were very excited about the game and are going to play it are going to enjoy it. Like, there are going to be people out there who, like we've been saying, recognize these flaws and can get over them and just enjoy the game. And I think, as they were saying, the shill thing, like, I think everyone should be confident in the fact that someone liking something more than you do does not necessarily mean they have been paid to have that opinion. Just in the same way.
BioWare's got a lot of money, if that's true.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's all. But I'm glad we dug into this. I'm glad we spent so much time on it because there's a lot to unpack. And you feel better?
I feel lighter. Yeah.
Like the world.
I gotta go right back into the game after this.
James had to yell at some video games.
Gotta do it sometimes.
That's his therapy. Yeah.
But let's open it up to you guys. Let's hear what you have to say. Not necessarily just about Mass Effect Andromeda, but if you want to talk about anything at all, we're going to open it up. Tag us with @PCGamer in the Twitch chat, and we will answer your questions if you are a Twitch subscriber. I know we got some new and returning people today. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate your support, and we'd love to hear from you first, but we have a longer amount of time for our Twitch chat today because I really want to take a lot more questions if we can. So bring them on in, and we'll talk about stuff. Buttface Jones, a subscriber, asks right off the bat, what's the next Pony Island? Short, self-contained, unique little chunk of gaming that has no barrier to entry.
Oh, well, stories untold. I wouldn't say it's as like...
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's definitely not as like trying to be as clever or self-aware and like breaking the fourth wall, but it's definitely all of those things. So give it a shot. $10.
Those games have been popping up more recently too. The kind of just like little bite-size sort of, here's a weird, fun, cool thing.
I said like 2 years ago that like, maybe it was a year ago, that like self-referential games, like after, what's it called?
Undertale?
No. Before that.
Stanley Parable.
Yeah, I was like, after the Stanley Parable, everyone's going to do this, and then they did, and I just wanted to say that so that I could say that I was right, that everyone was going to do that.
You did it, Tyler. You were right on the internet.
Thanks. Well, there's also the thing of like having a game where there's a monitor in the game, like her story and Stories Untold. That has become a big thing. And I just wanted to point out that I notice these trends, and I make predictions, and I'm always right. Just like when I said the iPad was a stupid idea that would never take off, I'm always right.
Tyler,
Yeah.
never change. That's all.
Okay.
Moving on, we have Kunifu next, asking, can you guys think of a board game or a card game that you'd like to see digitalized into video game form? Board game or card game? That's a good question. I still want a good online version of Magic, but, that's just...
What the fuck?
What?
You got, like, every version of Magic ever. Like, every iteration you could ever dream of already exists.
James is so mad at me today. Oh, my God.
I want Magic.
No.
God.
Fine. You want me to do something better? I would like something... I think there needs to be a better version of Risk, and if we're doing a better version of Risk, I think a version of the Risk Legacy board game where you can actually play with the same people in continued sessions and the game will change over time in video game form would be very, very cool. So there, James, are you happy now?
I'll never be happy.
I haven't played a lot of board games recently, so I don't know. There's nothing at the top of my head. I've been watching people play D&D every week. That's what I do now. And then annoyingly like backseat D&Ding and telling them what they should do, because it's so annoying when the DM lays something out and then they don't ask the obvious question. You're like, what? Ask about the door. Ask about the door, guys. But I'm not actually playing, so I'm just an annoyance. Sorry, that had nothing to do with the question.
Yeah, I have no answer for the question either, because
Okay.
I don't really play very many board games.
He just rages about Mass Effect and other things online.
I'm just angry.
That's what he does all the time. Chris86 asks, what's your favorite BioWare game?
Ooh.
That's a nice, clean and simple question. Yeah. I don't know.
Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 2? Is that the easy cop-out answer?
I mean,
This is my favorite game. My favorite BioWare game.
people talk a lot of shit recently. I guess people. I don't know. It's like
No.
Tyler's trend is in effect. I don't know, like where we're at in the oscillation, but in 2 years it's going to change. But Dragon Age. I love the original Dragon Age. I spent and the expansion Awakening, or no, that was just the original surname. But no, Origins and Awakening. Yeah. So I loved those games.
I didn't realize how many crazy good games BioWare's name was attached to. Like, I didn't realize BioWare was still the developer of the Baldur's Gate series.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was under a different name at that point.
Original KOTOR, super. I mean, it's hard to knock that one. It was breaking a lot of interesting BioWare ground.
Yeah, I mean, Knights of the Old Republic is a big one on that list. I think I'd actually put Knights of the Old Republic over Mass Effect 2. I'd also put... I don't know if I'd put this over I think I would. I'm going to just go ahead and I'll be the guy who says Jade Empire. I was really into Jade Empire.
It had a
pretty good
bad
game.
PC port later on, right?
I don't believe...
That's why I never
if you
played
will.
it.
I played it on 360, I believe.
I'm actually changing mine. It's MDK2. The MDK series. So good. I'm kidding. It's not MDK2. MDK were these like...
I've heard about these.
Like the first one was that developed by Shiny? Yeah. They're okay. But no one would remember MDK2 as a BioWare game.
Chris in the middle in the chat is immediately like, "Yay, MDK2!" So there you go. All right, let's go grab some more questions because that was a good one. That was eye opening for me. As Muffin says, "How far into Zelda have you made it?" We're not talking about that.
Well,
but
actually,
I just.
We're not gonna.
No, what were you gonna say?
I got a house, but.
Oh, I'm proud.
Okay.
I'm like
Zelda gamer.
I'm like 60 hours into that game or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about that. There was a good question actually that I wanted to take from a non-subscriber, Silent Marine Zero, who's around a lot. Do you think the EA early access trial was a good idea or a bad idea? Many impressions of the early game, including ours, used the trial and thought the game starts slowly. Many games do not do demos anymore, so many users treated this as one to test the game and see what works. I emphasized on the Discord that they have the trial used to determine what they like. Yeah, I think almost unanimously in the office we agreed that the embargo on the coverage that was only the trial was a bad idea.
It was a terrible idea.
Yeah. Because think about it, the conversation all weekend was about how stupid those animations were. That was what everyone was talking about, was how slow it was, how kind of crummy the early writing was, and how stupid the animations were.
Basically,
go for it.
No, go for it.
Oh,
no, you go, James. I want you to yell some more.
I'm gonna have a slightly different take. I think for EA, it was very bad, but for people who were interested in maybe spending $60 on this game, yeah, it's a demo. Like, it functioned as a demo, and in that way, I think it was very good for people who were trying to make purchasing decisions and were like, "Wow, I'm gonna get flavor. What's this new taste?"
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think it was frustrating in terms of coverage because we had played the full game or had copies of the full game at that point, and to kind of and at that point, like, Chris was further in the game, and he had talked about things that he thought picked up and had liked and enjoyed, and having those behind like an arbitrary agreement wall was frustrating, I think, from that point of view. But if you're looking to spend money, I think it's fine.
But to me, as a game player, like, I want there to be more game demos. I think Salamarine was right in saying that game demos are not very common anymore. I don't want a game demo to be tied behind some EA Origin Access thing.
Oh, sure.
And I don't want the game demo to be before the game comes out. I would be fine with what they did and with that Origin Access thing if it hit when the game launched, you had a chance to play it before you bought it when it was available to play, but full reviews were already out so that you could use the reviews plus your own experience in the demo as to get a full picture. I think the idea that they gated just that beginning stuff for everyone was a bad idea, and I think they needed to do a demo when everyone could talk about the whole game.
I don't know. If it was a better game, it wouldn't have been a bad idea.
That's true.
I guess that's a fair point.
If everyone had played that first 10 hours and been like, I can't wait to play more, it's amazing, then everyone would be going like, EA really did a good job there. They got everyone so excited. They got all this free, positive, word of mouth out, but instead all they got were fucking gifs of riders' eyeballs freaking out. I don't like the EA Access thing, Origin Access, whatever, because I wrote about this this is the beginning where you get to play for 10 hours, a few days early. But how long before it's like $100 and you can play the game a month early? $80, you can play the game 2 weeks early. I don't want that shit to start happening. So
I like that.
if they had just released the game and put out a free demo, that's cool. But yeah, it backfired from a business perspective. They couldn't have been happy, and I felt kind of bad for the developers because they just had to watch everyone stew in the first few hours of that game all weekend, just roasting it mercilessly, which I joined in on because I didn't feel that bad about it, but I felt a little bad after joining in.
All right, here's one from Varen Deal asking, are there any game franchises that you just really wish would be revived, either with a remake or a sequel? Conversely, any that you really think should just stop, excluding the obvious yearly iteration games?
Oh, well.
So that's a little tougher of a question that way. In terms of revived, God, I want Beyond Good and Evil. I want another Beyond Good and Evil. That's not even a franchise or a series. They only made one. I just want the second one. And I know all y'all guys have been hating on me the first one wasn't very good.
Did we?
Rosy
Why did we
retrospect?
hate? What?
Maybe not you, but
do
somebody
this?
did that to me, and I don't care. I want a second one of that game.
Hey, Tom.
What?
Beyond Good and Evil sucked.
James?
What?
Just kidding.
That's
a great game.
I
I'm not
don't
into
expect anything less from you. I think the Fallout franchise should be killed. Moving on.
Whoa! Whoa, buddy!
No, I think Fallout.
That's not a terrible take.
It's all right. I was going to say the Elder Scrolls.
Just hating on Bethesda. No, honest to God, I think that both the Elder Scrolls series and the Fallout series need a large refresh. before they get their next game. I don't think either of those games can just put out another one on the same engine and have me be interested still.
I'm with you.
That's not really. I don't think that means it should be killed, right? But I think they need some TLC before we see them again, or at least I would like them to see that. Do you guys have any series in mind?
That's a tough call. This whole game. Oh shit, Half-Life 2. I'd love to see.
I never heard of it.
No,
Over Portal? That's a question. Half-Life 3 or Portal 3, James?
Portal's done, in my opinion.
Yeah, Portal's good. I don't know. I'd be more interested in shooting men instead of solving puzzles with intellect. So.
Well, I see where your priorities are. I like solving puzzles. I don't have anything. Every time a series I want to come back comes back, it's not like great. Well, that's not true, because like Torment Tides of Numenera is pretty dang good. I guess that wasn't a series.
No.
And that was as a sort of successor to one game. But like, I don't know. They tried to bring back Command and Conquer as a free-to-play game, and that never even came out because it sucked so hard. I liked Max Payne 3, but and Max Payne is one of my favorite series, but it wasn't like brilliant, and they really don't need to make any more of those. I'm fine with that.
Oh man, someone says Black and White should be brought back in VR.
I do like Black and White.
That's a good idea.
Okay, that's my answer.
I like Black and White.
I love
Let's take their answers.
Okay. Let's take a couple more questions because there are definitely more, and this is why we did a bigger section. Hooray. Kev Factor asks, field exploration is back in the game. Felt like that's what was missing from the second and third games. Okay, so that's not really...
I'm gonna majorly disagree.
Oh, okay. You sounded... You sounded like Aziz Ansari from Parks and Rec right there.
Well, I would, and this is again my experience. It's a big game, so maybe I have yet to find the thing that the carrot at the end of the stick. But I feel like the exploration, and we're talking about Mass Effect, right? I'm joking.
Yes.
On my words,
because they're not true.
Stop. And I feel like the very first thing I did in the EOS and the second world was say, I'm going to go off the beaten path and explore. And everything I found was just a combat outpost where you kill dudes and scan some technology or find a container or a cave or something that was waiting for a quest to happen there.
It's ostensibly about exploration. It's just that the exploration isn't that fun. You can go to a system and scan all the planets. Maybe find yourself some iron.
Well, let's move on to a Dark Souls question.
Yeah.
Because I know you'd be excited for that. Apollo Dingo asks, Dark Souls 3 final DLC is going to be better than all the Witcher 3 DLC. This is true. Why?
I don't know how to answer that because the Witcher 3 DLC is great. That's a bad question, but a good question, but a bad question. I have high hopes for the Dark Souls 3 final DLC, which is coming out, the Ring City, next Tuesday, I believe. But I think like perhaps a Mass Effect sequel, it will not meet the expectations that people are putting on it. I think people are looking for like a very poignant end to the Dark Souls trilogy that answers every lore question and has crazy boss battles and wild environments, and it might tick a few of those boxes, but I'm kind of reeling my hopes back in some ways because I know it's just downloadable content that probably isn't getting the full force from behind it in terms of development because they're juggling a lot of things at the moment. But I hope at the very least it's thematically rich and the enemies are fun to fight and it just does the Dark Souls thing well.
All right, we're gonna do rapid fire questions right now because I want to fit in a lot before we end.
Right.
Longtime viewer Battletank09 asks, any games based on existing animes you'd like? I'd want to just touch on this because I actually do think that some of the Dragon Ball Z games are really good. Like the Budokai games were great, and I hear really good things about the more recent ones that I can't forget. I'm forgetting the name of right now. But But yeah, those games. Also, there was a really good Naruto fighting game for GameCube that I can't remember the name of. Will is shaking his head yes. So there you go. That's all the validation I need.
One Punch Man.
Is there a One Punch Man video game?
I want there to be one.
I don't know.
I want there to be a Ping Pong the Animation video game. Yeah. Is there? I hope there is. I'd play that.
All right, let's keep moving. Where did another question go? They're all gone. There we go. Crazy Canuck. On the subject of Bioware, guys want to see KOTOR 3 or Jade Empire 2? Go, quick. Give me your answers.
No.
Ouch. Wow. Damn. I'd go KOTOR 3 just because Jade Empire is great.
2.
You're going to go Jade Empire 2? Okay. I'm going to go KOTOR because that's at least the more venerated series.
Want
that's
original,
for other people.
Original properties coming out of BioWare.
Okay.
Oh, I'll tell you something, Tom. Star Wars sucks. Star Trek, baby.
All right. Calm down.
Here we go.
Max Ursa says he's been spending time in the Elite Dangerous 2.3 beta, messing with the character creator, and asks, after the obligatory Max Slider character, how long do you normally spend on character creators? Do you recreate your own face or someone else's, or just make one up? I found out a long time ago while playing The Sims that I'm terrible at recreating my own face, and every time I do, it just looks like generic white guy. So I stopped doing that, and I just make weird characters now.
I would describe you as a generic white guy.
I mean,
though, to be
it's
fair.
kind
So
of my
I
face.
think you are on point.
Literally every time I've made a character in like any character creator that tried to be me, I would show it to someone and they'd be like, "That doesn't look like you." And
To
I'd
be
like,
honest,
"Oh, okay."
to be honest, if you look at us right now, it looks like someone just moved a couple sliders around, put some glasses on, a hat. So,
Yeah, that's not inaccurate, James. What was the question? Do we make our own
just
characters?
how long do you spend on characters usually?
8 hours. Okay, maybe not 8 hours, but I can be like, I'm going to start this RPG tonight, and then be like, I better go to bed. Glad I watched the first cutscene after customizing my character
I've
for
definitely done that too.
ages, and then gotten into the game, been like, I don't like the hair, and then restarted the whole game to change it.
It also depends on the commitment of the type of game.
Yeah,
I will
if it's
not
100 hours.
Yeah, if it's gonna be a long RPG, I will customize the hell out of my character. If it's like Ark Survival Evolved, I'm just like, I'm gonna make myself have big biceps and be a tiny dude, and then I move on. I don't spend time on games like that, character creators. And the last question I want to bring up, where'd it go? Oh no. Which is a big question, but I'd like a rapid-fire answer from you guys. Subscriber Gildive asks, you can only play one game for the rest of your life.
Easy.
What is it? Mass Effect Andromeda, James? Is that your easy answer?
No.
What is it?
Super Hexagon.
Super Hexagon. Oh, man, that's a good answer.
Yep.
I'll go with something like Audio Surf, because then I can keep adding new levels.
Fair enough.
I'll go with Dwarf Fortress. Hey, do we get updates?
Yeah, do we get updates? Not mine won't get updates.
I think we should get
I think updates are okay.
Then that means Tyler will be just literally be living a new life eventually.
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress is a
like-
good shout, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in Dwarf Fortress, I could just create a fantasy life where I get to play video games, but my dwarves are playing them.
Oh my god.
I would also maybe say something. I'd also want to go something competitive, because then you just I would even almost say I'd be fine with League of Legends, right? That wouldn't be my first choice, but
But then 30 years from now, what if no one's playing it and you're the last
Lifetime of
person?
harassment.
I'd be willing to put money on the fact that League is still around in 30 years, or in some form. It might be League 2, which I guess wouldn't count.
Or a sentient
Damn,
AI.
I'm
ruling.
caught.
I'll bet you right now, 30 years from this day,
All right. Put
right.
a reminder in my phone.
$5?
$100.
$100? I'll take that
Yeah.
bet. 30 years
In
from this
30
day, if League is still being
yeah.
played.
Siri,
Okay.
remind
Done.
me in 30 years from today to check on the Tyler Tom bet.
In 30 years, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to put some more specificity than that.
No.
I'm willing to put this money down. $100 that in 30 years from today,
Okay.
League of Legends is still being played.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is the dumbest
sure.
shit I've ever taken part in.
And that's how we're gonna end the show. Thank you very much, guys, for your questions. As always, we love answering them. We love talking to you. Join us in discord.gg/PCGamer if you have more questions or want to get in touch with us after the fact. If you're coming from PCGamer.com/podcast or YouTube.com/PCGamer or our iTunes page or wherever you listen to the show, thank you very much. We will be back right here at Twitch.tv/PCGamer. Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time now. Heyo. Although I guess it was last week, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very, very much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.